Welcome to the Ferrum Athletic Company podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Warner. I am also the co-owner and co-founder of Ferrum Athletic Company. You're listening to our podcast through the Anchor app, which is broadcast through Spotify. We've chosen this app for ease of use and convenience of listening. If you enjoy it, share it with your family and friends, leave us a review, and let us know what you think. And now, on to today's show. What's up, Ferrumers? Welcome to episode 5 of the Ferrum Athletic Company podcast. On today's show, we have a special guest, which is my business partner, Cheri Mooney.
Special guest.
Say, hey, what's up?
Hey, what's up?
Today we're going
Very
to talk
special
about
guest.
super special. Today we're going to talk about the story of us. This
Or old
is
guest.
like how we started. You want to tell them your age?
Too old. Over the hill.
Over the hill. So here's a question for you. How did we get started? Where did this whole thing take off? You want to start with maybe how we met?
I think it got started because you left your old gym and said, hey, do you want to open a gym?
I was fired. I was totally fired.
That's how it got started.
Well, to be more exact.
It wasn't very planned out when it got started.
Yeah, no, not so much. To be exact, I believe you joined the gym that I used to work at in June or July, somewhere. I think it was June.
What year was that?
2011. I think this year's 12 years since I met you.
I was 39, so.
Oh, you were so young.
I know, huh?
God, remember those days?
It's
Back
hard.
in the day.
It's hard. It's like distant memory.
You walked into the gym, became a member. I took you through your on-ramp that we had at that gym. And you remember for, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, somewhere around in there. And I was let go from that coaching position. And I remember I called you. And we'd been talking about potentially wanting to open a gym. Basically, I was unhappy with where I was. You at the time were a stay-at-home mom. And we're thinking about going back to work.
Mm-hmm. I think you forgot the part that they took away one of the only classes that I could attend because it was a 40-minute drive for me. So, if anyone knows Lauren, it was me, you, and Lauren working out. I don't think I took classes very much over there.
No, because I
just went straight into competitors training.
Yeah, probably. Isn't that the story of everybody? Hey, you become addicted and then jump into competitors training. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was me, you, and Lauren because I didn't really have anybody to work out with at that time, and they had eliminated the class that you were coming to. So I was like, hey, just come work out with me. Mm-hmm. And then not too long after that, I was let go, and I remember calling you that morning and being like, hey, we're not working out today. And you're like, why not? Which, to you, saying those words to you...
Yeah, that was tragedy.
I mean, those are the worst things ever you could say to Cheri. Hey, we're not working out today. I thought you were going to come through the phone and rip my head off. What? What do you mean we're not working out today? I was like, well, I no longer work here. I just lost my job. I was like, so you know how we were toying around with the idea of opening a gym? I was like, wait, it just happened. And you and I had gone and just kind of looked around in the Julington Creek area for potential spaces that might be open. And that's when we found our first location at 618. Mm-hmm. And literally the next day we went and signed a lease and started building it out. And that was February 1st of 2012. And then once we finished the build out of 4 walls in that old space, we opened May 2nd of that year. Mm-hmm. And really our driving force for wanting to open a gym, neither one of us were business owners. If you were to talk about being entrepreneurs, I don't think either one of us knew what the heck we were doing. At the time, I had been playing professional golf and traveling the country. And you'd been a stay-at-home mom. And prior to being a stay-at-home mom, you were...
Sold some things. I was an outdoor buyer.
Sold some things. It makes
Sold
you sound
some
like you were a
things. I
drug
know.
dealer.
Yeah, right. Kind of was. Pitney Bowes, mailing machines and copiers and fax machines back in the day. I did want to sell drugs, though. I was wanting to go into the pharmaceutical industry. And that's why I took the Pitney Bowes job.
You're so funny.
Illegal drugs, let's put it that way. But I didn't take one of the jobs because it was in Boise, Idaho, and I was too scared to leave home. So here I am.
So here you are. So we opened this gym because, first of all, we both enjoy working out. I started working out when, I believe it was the beginning of college for me. I started going to a gym. I remember my mom came home and the doctor told her that her cholesterol was bad. And I will never forget, she walked in the door and like threw away pretty much everything in our refrigerator. And back then, I say back then like it was a million years ago, like 20 years ago, we had a box of lard in our refrigerator. And that was one of the first things she threw away. She walked in the door and threw the box of lard. I thought my dad was going to throw a fit because everything was cooked with lard. And then she went and got us all a gym membership.
Shoot, it's probably more healthy than the stuff they put in the foods now.
Yeah, true story. At least it's real.
Yeah.
So as far as like joining a gym and working out and that kind of stuff was concerned, that started for me in college, which I'm not sure when that started for you.
That started for me as soon as I got a car. When I was 16, I got a gym membership. Worked out at least 3 days a week at, it was previously called, if people are from Jacksonville, they may remember this gym, American Fitness. American Fitness was then bought out by Bailey's. So I was one of those gym goers.
Wasn't it you that called it Law Fitness?
Law Fitness,
Law
yeah.
Fitness.
Law Fitness. Law.
Instead of LA Fitness, Law Fitness.
I had a good friend of mine was into bodybuilding. Ended up going to another gym, talk about no frills gym. Our CrossFit gym looked like Law Fitness next to this gym that we went to. It was literally hole in the wall, bunch of bodybuilders in there, no AC. And then after that, I got into triathlons. So road biking, swimming, and running was my jam for a long time. And then I still went to the gym.
How old were you when you started triathlons?
23. I was 23, and I did that up until Ian was born. And I was so into that I said I would never quit. But then I had been hit with a car on a bike before. So after I had Ian, I said, this is enough. I still want to be a mom. Don't want my kid to grow up doing something stupid and riding on the road. Back then, the phones weren't very popular. So phones came out, and I was scared to be on the road. So then I joined the Y because they had childcare. And I started following CrossFit.com at the Y. And I looked very silly because people would be on the cable machines doing tricep press downs. And I'm like, I'd be on the treadmill, and then you'd have to run and do pull-ups. And then I'd actually use the pull-up bar, what it was supposed to be used for, doing pull-ups. So it was really hard to do CrossFit at a Y.
I bet it was.
And then when Naya got to a point where she would sit and watch video games or whatever, I remember going to the beach and CrossFit Hard Knocks. The doors were open, and I drove by, and everyone was working out, and I was like, I'm not getting out right now. They're all working out. So drove by, forgot it that day. And then the next time we went to the beach, they were actually closed midday, and stopped in and got information. It was very intimidating, though.
Yeah, I remember your first workout was Spike on Bad.
Yeah.
Your first workout ever, I was like, oh, those poor people, they're going to die.
Very intimidating.
And I think a lot of people have that. Actually, pretty much everybody has that feeling. You know, it's an intimidating thing to walk into, especially if you're out of shape and haven't done anything. I mean, to walk into a gym with
and I was in shape.
Shirtless people, and yeah, true story.
So, and I think that's been one of the reasons why you and I have made the change we've made, because everywhere we go as business owners or what have you, like even if we go to the chiropractor and our personal chiropractor says, I've been trying to refer people to you guys for years, but they won't even listen to me when I say, oh, it's at CrossFit Ferrum. And they're like, CrossFit? Are you crazy? Mm-hmm. So, you know, making this change has definitely opened up a whole new world for us.
Oh, for sure.
And being able to help, you know, just more of the general public and not just people who that are hardcore in fitness and want to compete.
So if we go back to the reason why you and I opened a gym in the first place, number one, part of it was our love of working out.
Yes, I'd say so.
We both knew that, first of all, you don't open a gym
to work out more.
It's kind of like people that are like, oh, I'm going to go work at a golf course so I can play golf more. It doesn't work that way, like at all. You actually might end up working out less than you were before you were a gym owner. So if you're someone who's thinking about opening a gym because you love working out, or you're going to open a CrossFit affiliate because you love CrossFit, you better love the idea of helping people more.
Yeah, that far outweighs. Yeah. That far outweighs than the other part of it. But, you know, it's not hard to make time to work out. It's just, you just have to make time for yourself.
Yeah, and there's days where the time that you usually work out might change. Sometimes for me, it might be 6 or 7 a.m. For you, that's not an option.
Not an option. And it's fun to jump in on a class every now and then.
Yep. And then might be in the afternoon, might be in the evening, might be a day off. So it just depends on what the overall schedule looks like, because something else that's contrary to popular belief is that being a gym owner is actually a full-time job. There is a lot that goes into it. It's not just come in, work out, coach some people, and then go home and sleep, or go to the bar and hang out, which we don't do anyway. So if we were to look at how we've progressed to where we are. So we opened our gym, this coming May will be 11 years ago. We opened in a 1,500 square foot, we called it the closet. We opened a closet. It was super small because we had an office and a bathroom in there. So it wasn't even a usable 1,500 square feet. It was probably like a usable 1,000 square feet.
That's smart,
and it was smart because we had...
You don't want too much space. I mean, and I think what people are not getting, we're kind of walk in this place now and like, this is so big. And then you look over and half the class is on one side, and the other half, there's no one over there.
Nobody's
like, wait a minute, what do we do with all this space? And I have my own space?
Yeah,
I don't have to share a pull-up bar?
So we were 1,500 square feet. We were crammed in like sardines. People loved it. And back when we opened our affiliate, or back when we opened our gym, 2010, that was around the time 2012. I started CrossFit in 2010. That was around the time that the CrossFit Games were really ramping up. Prior to that, the only people that did CrossFit were like the grungy, hardcore people that were basically elite athletes. Like I remember talking to a guy that was like, man, I wish CrossFit would just go back to being just elite athletes and hardcore people. And around 2012, it had started to really...
That everybody could do it.
Move into the masses and not just elite athletes. Mm-hmm. So...
But the competitive part of CrossFit definitely changed CrossFit.
For sure.
That's not originally how it started.
No, not at all.
It started as personal training that led into some group training. That was basically one workout. It wasn't anything like what it is today.
Yeah. And you and I had this thought, this mindset of we want people to move as well as they possibly can.
And that's what Greg Glassman wanted. He was a gymnast.
Yeah, and be as safe as they can possibly
Curiosity.
be. That's really hard to do at 3, 2, 1, go. Like, everybody's competitive spirit kicks in, and suddenly the people that were focused on form and they just want to do this right and not get injured, suddenly that goes out the window, and
they don't care.
They're here to beat their buddy who's next to them. And I think that's what made it really hard for you and I, is that we care so much about the way people feel. And we care so much about everyone's overall health and their longevity. And we always have. Our way of going about doing it has changed and evolved. Because what we thought it was supposed to be at the beginning, as we've evolved our education, as we've evolved who we are, we've realized that there's a better way to do it. And a big part of that has been, you had back surgery at the age of 30.
Mm-hmm.
That
was pre-CrossFit.
It was pre-CrossFit. You had a laminectomy in your back. In 2013, which was, a year into us owning our business, you literally blew out your right shoulder on a bench press. Tore your supraspinatus on your right shoulder and blew out your labrum 360 degrees all the way around. So basically you went in and had surgery, and when they knocked you out, your arm just fell onto the table because there was nothing left holding it there. That was a 1-year recovery, pretty much.
Yep.
And then a year after that, which would have been 2015,
did the other one.
You tore your left supraspinatus on a ring muscle up.
Mm-hmm. Granted, some of that was, I had bone spurs, so anytime you lift your arm up over your head, that humerus is going to push that tendon into the bone spur. So, I mean, did I exacerbate it? Yeah, sure I did. I remember having some shoulder issues when I used to train more in the functional bodybuilding style. And I remember a doctor saying, we'll shoot it with cortisone and take 6 weeks off. Well, it's a Band-Aid. It didn't fix it.
Right.
Clearly. So would that have happened even if I wouldn't have trained like that? Possibly. Just probably pushed it along a lot faster.
Right. Well, I think one of the big things that you and I learned is that after you had those 2 shoulder surgeries, your external rotation is very limited on both arms.
Yep.
So for you, front racking a barbell, putting a barbell behind your head in as a back squat
has always been an issue.
Cycling a barbell up overhead, I mean, your shoulders literally can't get into those positions. And what you and I fought with is the idea of, well, just keep putting yourself into that position and it will get better.
Yeah, mobility, but there's some things you can't change.
And that tissue didn't change because it's been surgically altered. Once you've had surgery, everything's different. Like once you've been cut on, nothing will ever be the same again. It will never go back to being the way it was. So for you, that surgery was in 2015, so we're coming up on 10 years later. We're at 8 years later, and your external rotation is really not any better than where it was after your surgery. So we went out searching down the educational path for ways to help you feel better. And which kind of sounds funny, but when you own the place and you're one of the primary coaches and you can't get into positions, that starts to weigh on you after a while. Mm-hmm. Mentally, you're like, I'm supposed to be demonstrating this for this class and I cannot hold this barbell in this position. And after a while, you were like, questioning.
What am I doing?
Yeah, exactly. So if we're feeling that way and this is what we do for a living, imagine the person who...
Well, and I just kept fighting it because, of course, then I wanted to compete and make it top in the open and make it to the next level. And then, my body just had enough. And I was telling someone the other day that if we would have known what we know now 10 and a half, 11 years ago, we would have never opened this gym to be what it is.
No, we wouldn't have. And, I said the same thing to someone who asked me, because apparently, like, the programming conversation is always a conversation. And I said the same thing to somebody, because you and I believe that health and longevity should be a top priority for people. And that's exactly what we've evolved this gym into being, is something for health and longevity. So we've gone through this hard road of shoulder surgeries, shoulder recovery. I've had frozen shoulder recovery. I've had a hip out of place that affected my back. You've had back surgery that's made squatting a certain way difficult. It's made hinging a certain way difficult. And when you and I trained for years to be stronger, and I mean, there have been times where I've watched you not be able to deadlift 135 off the ground. Mm-hmm. You haven't, we were supposed to be working our way up in deadlift weight, and you got to like 155 and it literally didn't move. And since evolving our education and
I wasn't doing it right,
training and learning about
the human body and more about fixing it, not fixing it, but healing it, mm-hmm. and taking better care of it and managing stress, diet, sleep, the whole 9 yards. The other day, I watched you deadlift 260 for six reps. And prior to that, I watched you do 290 for 6. I mean, holy crap. Granted with a trap bar, but still.
But the trap bar is better for your shoulder position.
Yes. Yep. And yes, I feel stronger now than I did when I did CrossFit.
And you're addressing
doing those positions instead of the barbell.
Yeah, we're addressing...
I'm able to actually use my strength in the position that my body likes versus being dictated on, this is the prescribed movement, do it this way, or you're not an RX person.
Right. And that,
yeah, and that gets people in trouble. Pressure. It does carry a lot of pressure, and then if you don't do it, you feel like you failed, and you compare yourself to others. And when we did used to compete with all the other coaches in the gym and have middle of the day to do our workout with everyone else, it's like, if I don't do it this way, then I can't put my name on the board and at this weight and at this prescribed way. And
then somebody walks in and says,
"It's so
what's
silly
wrong with you today?"
And then it puts me in a bad mood. It's just silly.
And it's just working out.
And
Right? And the overall picture really is our health.
Yeah.
What good does it do me to push my body to the point of winning all the time if my cholesterol sucks?
Yeah.
If I eventually end up with heart disease? I don't know about you.
Or you only sleep 6 hours a night.
Or you go out drinking all the time.
Yeah.
We can talk about that topic. People that...
Well, that's not my problem, but yes.
Right.
It only makes everything harder.
Want to work out harder, but ignore what they put in their mouth. That one's a really hard conversation that we can save for a different conversation. But if we talk about the evolution of our business from 1,500 square feet from a closet, a couple years later, we evolved to 3,200 square feet, grow to 3,200 square feet. And along the way, I think one of the mistakes that you and I made, which we've made a lot of mistakes. That's part of
growing.
Part of learning is making mistakes.
Yeah. You're never successful unless you fail.
Is we always made this about everyone else. And not saying that we should have made it about ourselves, because it is about everyone else to an extent. Like, we absolutely care about the way people feel. We want them to walk into our gym and feel good. We want them to feel confident. We want them, more importantly, we want them to walk away feeling good. We don't want them to walk out of here feeling broken or destroyed or, I mean,
or
for you
not
and I,
able to play with your kids on the weekend because you're so tired.
Yeah. And the one that really hurt us is when we had to refer people to orthopedic surgeons. Or when people would come back from doctors and say, so I told my doctor that I do CrossFit, and they told me, you need to stop that crap. You're just going to continue to get hurt. I mean, we dealt with that for
years.
I
mean, I dealt with it myself when I had shoulder surgery. Like, oh, that CrossFit, this just keeps adding to my retirement.
And
it's you know, it's like the day that you and I coached a Saturday, I believe, in the little gym. I don't know, maybe a year before this place. We've been in this place, and it was a busy class. I remember it was like maybe 30, maybe 40 people there. And it was you and I, and we had warmed everyone up, went over the movement, got everyone moving. They looked good, and that we go, okay, this is the workout. We will go over it. 3, 2, 1, go. And then we stand back, and like, I remember looking at you and like, you know what? If the founder of CrossFit, Greg Glassman, was to walk through those doors right now, he'd probably shut us down.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are we doing right now?
He would take away. It's so hard to control 3, 2, 1, go.
The movement just went out through the ear and went out the other. It's like, I don't know. I just want to win. I don't know. I don't know what possesses everything to go bad when that 3, 2, 1 buzzer goes off.
Competitive spirit.
Yeah.
Is what happens. And competitive spirit is great in the arena. Like, I guess I have this opinion because...
But those athletes, they do more than just do WODs. They work on their strength and balances. They have coaches that, you know, this is what they do for a living. They have recovery. They have, you know, nutritionists. They have self-care, therapy. But they are not just doing workouts, CrossFit workouts.
No, they're not.
They are working on their weaknesses.
Yep, absolutely. And, you know, and this
so
goes
that they can move well.
This goes for any high-level sport, whether it's golf, football, baseball, gymnastics, Olympic lifting, powerlifting, CrossFit, whatever. They're not just walking in. It's not like a show up and blow up and then you go home, as we used to say in golf world. You're just going to show up and blow up. Basically, you don't do anything.
Well, I blew up.
Yeah, you did blow up. That's a good point. You blew your shoulders up, that's for sure. You don't just walk in, win, go as fast as you can, and then expect to be able to compete at a high level. It takes a lot more than that. So if you're to look at a high-level athlete, it's hours a day, right? And that's where people get confused. Like the majority of people that have family, 9-to-5 jobs, they also have very real-life problems that they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. They have the stress of their family, the stress of their kids, they have the stress of their job. When they walk into the gym is supposed to be the place where, like, their brain shuts off, you lift some weights, you get your heart rate up, and there's a fine line between not enough and too much.
And lifting weights for the external muscle versus your connective tissue.
Yeah. And your connective tissue is a really big deal.
And that's what we're addressing now.
100%. And if you look at power lifters and Olympic lifters, powerlifters aren't just squatting, pressing, and deadlifting. I mean, you and I have our powerlifting certification that we got from, basically the instructor there was Louis Simmons' right-hand man. And if you don't know who Louis Simmons is, he's Westside Barbell's founder. And Westside Barbell has pretty much every world record. They have the strongest athletes on the planet under their belt. And the person that we learned how to powerlift from was basically Louis Simmons' right-hand man, Shane Sweat. And Shane Sweat's ex-wife, Laura Phelps, is one of the
World
most
record holder.
successful female powerlifters on the planet. She holds multiple world records in multiple weight classes. So to be able to learn from them what it takes to be a professional powerlifter, like I remember sitting at that seminar, and you and I are used to talking to people about 300-pound back squats and, you know, maybe a 500-pound deadlift. To sit in a room and have a guy talking about 1,000-pound deadlifts and 700-pound bench presses, like it's...
And a 225-pound glute ham raise.
Yeah, like it's like it's nothing.
When that's hard enough to do body weight.
And I remember he's rattling off these numbers, like, you know, bench press 500, back squat 700, deadlift 1,000, blah, blah, blah. And he's talking about it like you and I talk about you going to Dunkin' to get tea. Like, it's such an everyday conversation. And I looked at you, I remember looking at you going, did he say 700 on a back squat? Like, is he for real? What are we talking about right now? Like, those numbers are so astronomical, but they don't just, very rarely do they squat, press, and deadlift raw weight, like ever. The only time they ever do that is in a competition. Mm-hmm. Every other time they squat, bench, and deadlift, it's always against bands or chains. Mm-hmm. And it's always
a lot of accessories.
It's always for 6 reps, 8 reps. And it's always with bands and chains. And then the majority of the work that they do that day is accessory work. Mm-hmm. It's strength building, focusing on individual, for example, triceps or hamstrings or glutes or whatever. And it's
rear delts.
It's like 3 to 5 rounds of 5 exercises with, I mean, it's a lot of work. So for the average person to walk in and be like, hey, my goal is to back squat 700 pounds. That's a big goal. My goal is to do 15 unbroken muscle ups. That's a big goal. Like, those are things that require a lot of work, but they also require a lot of attention to detail. And sometimes people, as TJ just commented on my post, they get lost in the description. Like, this really isn't as complicated as everybody's made it to be. And you and I have evolved our business because if you're not evolving, you're dying. We've evolved our business into a longevity gym. Mm-hmm. Because,
well, and even Louis Simmons preaches longevity.
Yeah.
To his athletes, and that's how he programs.
Yeah. So Louis Simmons broke his back, what, like
3 times?
7 times?
There's
I like to
3 times.
over-exaggerate. So if we look at this as from a longevity point of view,
we're addressing it.
You can't compete every single day and address longevity at the same time.
No.
You can compete if you want to do some sort of competitions. Let's say you like Spartan races or 5Ks or whatever, but you have to understand that there's a difference between training and competing.
Yeah. Well, this muscle building that we're doing is training them for that. If they want to go, do extra running on their own or whatever to train for this Spartan race, they're strong enough. We're getting them strong enough in here. And as far as like cardio goes, I mean, it's really all you need. It's like when we jump into a class, yeah, it's hard, and I don't feel like I've lost much by not doing long hero wads or, wanting to go for a 3-mile run. Like, used to be nothing for me. Definitely don't miss those days.
Well, and let's talk about this. You bring up long hero wads. So from a triathlete point of view, I know our endurance athletes have a much different view of what working out looks like versus what, for example, myself, who was a sprinter, what my idea of working out looks like versus what a bodybuilder's idea of working out looks like. Like, there's a million different ideas. Mm-hmm. And the problem is we sit in this fitness world. We sit in a world right now where everybody's either right or wrong.
There is no right or wrong.
There is no right or wrong.
No, you have to do what you enjoy doing.
If you know your why, listen, if you like doing long distance endurance, go for it. Just know that long distance repetitive movement has a risk.
Well, and this would be, like, you're right, like repetitive movements. You've got to train, your connective tissue or like your strength and balances, like the stuff that we're addressing, so you can go do those things. So that's what we're here for. We are that option to come get fit, that you can do things outside of the gym that you enjoy doing.
So let's take your triathlete, for example, who spends
this
a lot of time.
This would have been awesome for me.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have herniated my disc.
True story. I mean, if you talk about long distance running, biking, rowing, if that person was to walk into the gym, if 23-year-old Cheri were to walk in here and say, hey, I want to be a competitive triathlete, I wouldn't just look at you and say, okay, well, we're going to run, bike, and swim more. That's about the last thing you need. You're going to do all that crap on your own.
Yeah.
What triathlete Cheri needed was right versus left strength, hinge versus squat, strength balance.
Core strength.
When you talk about swimming, I mean, you have a lot of fascial tissue that connects your entire body together. So if you're talking hips in relation to shoulders, all of that has to work together at the same time. And when you have, we'll call it a glitch in the matrix, when you have a glitch in the matrix, something overloads improperly for a long period of time, and you end up with the back problem. So when we look at our long distance endurance people and their definition of what's a good workout, you and I had this conversation for a really long time, and it took me a long time to convince you that you do not need to keep your heart rate elevated for 45 minutes to an hour straight to get a good workout.
No, I guess you just get addicted to that stuff.
You do get addicted.
It works until it doesn't.
Yeah, true story.
But I should have been training like this a long time ago. I would have probably been better at the sports that I chose.
And you probably would have lasted in it for a longer period of time.
Right. So I guess as a takeaway, that's what we've learned.
Touche. Yes, we have. So
and finally, I just had to be over 50 to learn
over 50.
it. Slap in the face.
At the age of 51.
And I actually, other than freaking menopause, I actually feel the best shape I've ever been in, as far as the way I feel. When I work out, when I don't work out, I'm never sore, hardly ever sore. I'm still building muscle at the age of 51.
Well, and a lot of people connect being sore with having a good workout, which is not at all the case.
That's a whole nother topic.
You've reached the point of diminishing returns.
Yes.
So, and which takes me back to this definition of, feeling that you need to have your heart rate elevated for 45 minutes to an hour to have a good workout, right? A lot of people start into, let's say, a CrossFit program, which, for those that don't know, the ideal CrossFit workout's about 10 minutes long on average. A CrossFit workout's about 10 minutes. Sometimes you go shorter. Occasionally, you go longer. People become so addicted to a feeling that soon they feel that 10 minutes isn't enough.
Right.
I didn't even work out. I don't feel like I did anything. So then it bumps up to 15 minutes. Then it bumps up to 20 minutes. Pretty soon, all we want to do all the time is 45-minute to an hour long hero workouts that are thousands upon thousands of reps, and we get into an overuse pattern.
So to back it up, where you said that when we opened this, that, we cared about what people wanted. So when we first opened, we did classic CrossFit, where we programmed a workout and, we coached the movements. We watched people move, which, when we talk about movement, back then we didn't assess people. So we're just coaching movement. We weren't coaching human movement.
Like
based on individual movement.
Deadlifting,
yes.
Pressing.
So we would coach get people ready for the workout, give them a workout, and then people started getting better, and then they're like, well, we want more. So that's when we said, okay, well, everyone's wanting to do this back squat cycle to get stronger, because that's what they've heard. That's when CrossFit's like, they started adding some more things. Some other gyms did the same thing. Wasn't enough, so we added more. And then we went to the powerlifting certification. Well, we want to get our people stronger. Let's power lift and do accessories. So we did that. And then people wanted more than that.
Yeah, there's always been like
so it was always, catering to people, what people wanted, because they thought more is better, longer is better. It's hard to pack in an hour and everything. But I think that's where we've evolved, as now we know what's best, and we have something we're pretty passionate about it, and it's worked for us. We've actually been training it, 3 years?
Yeah.
This way for, it was after,
COVID was 2020.
I remember I was 47, because that's when I made it to Masters Regionals. And I think I finished top 100 out of that after being in Sweatfest.
Yeah. That was 2019.
And I felt really good then. I really did. I felt good then too. I was sore a lot and things kind of hurt. But I think it was after that we're like, I'm tired of hurting so much. And we changed programs at that time.
Yeah, we did.
We were tired of doing bar facing burpees too. And
oh my God, if I did one more bar facing burpee.
I think that was the precursor.
Yeah. I remember the day that
It gets you really good for the open.
I actually made a post on this the other day. I knew my body was done when I went to do a burpee and I literally couldn't get up off the ground. Like, I tried to peel myself up off the floor and my body was like, nope, have a seat. So if we were to look at what we do now, we talk about being a longevity gym, and our programming, we still offer a group class, and our programming in our group class is BUILT, right? Mm-hmm. So BUILT stands for Building Unique Individuals Living Tenaciously. We've acronymed it. But within that, it starts with a tempo weightlifting. And I think one of the big things that we've learned is breaking down tissue to the point of exhaustion and then throwing something at somebody to see if they can still function isn't necessarily the best approach. No. So, our weightlifting has a tempo to it, but it also has a programmed rest. Like, hey, you're going to do these...
Rest is important.
These box squats, and you're going to rest 45 seconds to a minute or a minute to a minute and a half between sets. Or we program it as an EMOM to make sure that people are taking plenty of rest. Because ideally, at the end, you would like to build in weight, an RPE of maybe going from 5 out of 10 up to maybe an 8 out of 10. You want to be able to build up in weight. You want that tissue to feel good going into every set. There isn't a maximal tolerated dose, right? I'm going to throw all of this at you and then see if your rotator cuffs can handle these handstand push-ups at the end or this handstand walking, and see if you can not break your neck, kind of thing. So what we believe, our unique belief in fitness, as Stu Bauer would say, is that weightlifting needs to have a controlled eccentric so that we can layer on some muscle mass, because muscle mass is the key to longevity. Especially if you listen to Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, she's very passionate about that. She's fantastic. So if muscle is the key to longevity, you've got to put yourself in the best situation to put that muscle mass on.
Yep. And not bouncing out of the bottom and tearing your tendons and ligaments. Because those need to be strong as well.
Yeah, because overloading your connective tissue just leads to
disaster
down the road. Been there, done that. Have all of the physical therapy sessions. Speaking of that, the people walking in our doors. When we first opened, and for, I don't know, the first 10 years, the consultations that we would have, people walking in the door would be like, hey, I want to do this, but I'm scared to death. Mm-hmm. Hey, I want to do this, but I really don't want to get injured. And I mean, it was literally everybody. My friends do this, and they highly recommended you, but I'm going to be honest with you, I'm really worried about getting hurt. Literally every conversation that we had.
Yeah, turned a lot of people away.
And I remember one day we're standing there talking to this girl, and we're like, no, you'd be perfect here. And everybody comes running out the door, and she goes, nope. And she literally got in her car and left. Like, she didn't entertain the idea. She was out, peeled away.
Good thing we don't have the parking lot we do now.
Yeah, right.
Filled it with dust.
Rocks flinging everywhere. The people coming in our door now at Ferrum Athletic Company, people are getting referred to us from our chiropractor, Dr. Land. People are getting referred to us from family
around
and
town.
friends, physical therapists. And the conversation is totally different. And it sounds more like, hey, I have this thing, and I've been recommended to you because I think you can help me.
Well, and the people sending, the doctors, the physical therapists sending people our way believe in it as well, because they keep going back to the chiropractor for the same thing. They're not addressing the problem. They're just going to get therapy, but they're not addressing what's causing the problem. Mm-hmm. So it's like Dr. Land, he keeps saying, I don't have time to treat them with that. Like, I know what they need to be doing, but that's not my specialty. So this is perfect. It really is a hand-in-hand business. I feel like we really should have built him an office here.
Yeah, probably. He can move into the main office with Stella.
Yeah.
So the medical world is overloaded. Medical professionals are...
No, you're kidding.
So,
I only wait an hour at the doctor.
Right? Is so
For 5
overloaded
minutes.
with people because people have problems and they're searching for answers. The medical world gives you, I mean, if you're lucky, you get what, 15 minutes?
If you're lucky, yeah.
If you're lucky with a doctor.
Well, you wait in that room, so.
And they ask you, what's your problem? Why are you here? Here's this medicine, blah, 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 blah. Whereas our big thing is that we're not treating your symptom. Like, you walk in our door, Cheri, I'm not treating your shoulder, I'm treating Cheri. There's a bigger picture.
Good luck.
You're not just good luck. Well, hang on, let's use a different example.
Yeah,
maybe
who else can we treat?
Let's treat somebody else. But people are so convinced that either the pain that they have right now, they have to live with for forever, which isn't necessarily the case. I've been to every doctor, every physical therapist, blah, 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 blah. They just say that I'm just going to have this back pain for forever. So I'm here at your gym now to work out. Can I just work out and I'm just going to always have back pain?
Yeah, the people we're treating now are the people like, for instance, I have a client that has had back surgery and went through PT, but, once you're at a level, that's all the PT you're going to get. So, when she came to me, she basically had pain waking up in the morning every morning.
She had the same back surgery you did, right?
Same back surgery, yeah. Still having issues with just daily life and picking things up and just living. So we have her to a point now where she's able to lift some weight and lift it right, and not waking up in pain and having to do all the stretches that she had to do just to get her day going. So that's where we are. We progress people to the next level, so they can continue to do the things they enjoy doing on their own. And let's
clarify that we're not just talking about people that are like 75 and 80.
No, talking about people younger than me, which is, I told you I'm over the hill, so everyone's younger than me.
I mean, we're talking about people in their late 30s, early 40s. I mean, we're not. We even have high school kids with back injuries, knee injuries, hip injuries. And these people are people that are past physical therapy, but yet not back into their sport or their active lifestyle. And we're working on strengthening them and balancing them out in a way that they can get back to all of the things that they want to do. Right? And that's where...
And not scared to do the things.
This is the path that our business naturally took us. All of these things kept getting presented to us. And I think I made a post the other day, like, call it a calling, call it an assignment from God, call it whatever. But this literally kept falling into our lap all the time. Like, I'm so bummed. My shoulders are really bothering me. I can't do these kipping toes to bar anymore. I can't do anything on your board. This is so depressing. I don't even know why I'm here. What can you do for me? And we're like, I can't do anything for you. I don't know.
Well, do your knee raises or your
just do
toes to bar on the ground
instead.
Yeah.
And that's not what people wanted to do. But then they would go to physical therapy, and physical therapy would be like, well, you can put a glass on a shelf, you can lift your arm.
You don't need to be doing that stuff.
Yeah, and there's other things you can do. So we've naturally progressed and evolved into this situation, into what I feel is
training
a very
more for longevity,
eye-opening thing that really legitimately everybody needs, because hopefully we're all going to age into our 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and we start talking about independence and quality of life.
Miss Joyce.
Yeah, Miss Joyce. Things that I wish my grandparents would have done when they got to the point to where I would be like, Grandma, all you got to do is walk. And she would look at me and say, it's easier said than done. And we're just talking about walking, not talking about running or jumping or back squatting. I'm just talking about getting up out of a chair and walking.
That's sad.
A lap around your house. Easier said than done.
Yeah, nobody wants to live like that.
And I think one of the really big shifts for us was the pandemic. I mean, it was a really big shift for everybody in the world, but especially for us in the fitness world. You and I came to the realization that we need to be solving deeper problems. So every person that walked in our door, I didn't want to just give you a good workout.
Yeah.
We wanted to help people actually address their problems.
And still get a good workout. But do it safely and do it the right way so they don't get hurt and they can continue to have a good workout.
And talk about empowering people. Like the person that walks in the door that says, my back hurts every time I work out. If you can address the cause of why that person's back hurts every time they work out and educate them on what they need, what if you could prevent someone from having back surgery 5 years down the road? Now that person steps into either a group class or the running and the triathlons that they like to do. Coach Cheri has now educated them on, this is what happens when you do this, this causes this. This is why. Talking about coaching the why. This is why this happens. This is why we are doing these movements. This is why we are progressing you in this way. Then when this person goes into their triathlons or goes into their group setting, Cheri says, I need to do this like this because. And then they understand the why and they're empowered to feel better, move with a purpose, activating what they're supposed to activate, and then they no longer have back pain and potentially prevent having back surgery 5-10 years from now.
And not being active. There was something I read the other day. It says, the older you get, the more being fit is a true status symbol. Which is true because, I mean, who wants to sit in a house all day and not walk?
Yeah, true.
I mean,
so you remember...
What's your status symbol?
Yeah.
I need help using the bathroom.
Yeah. I know the names of every old Western movie ever made. Mm-hmm. Remember, so when we were in our other gym, the business next door to us used to be a salon. And they had a lot of elderly clients.
Blue hair.
Do you remember watching all of them
Get out of their car.
the help getting in and out of the car?
Their aide would drive them up there, and they would walk in all crippled over, but their hair looked good.
Yeah, but we're talking quality of life. And the worst thing that we as human beings can do is be so egotistical to believe that that's never going to happen to us.
Yeah. Well, and what's sad is like looking at people with lifelong diseases or illnesses that are in the hospital that are younger than us, that don't even get the chance.
Yeah, true story.
So,
evolving our business to a point of helping people on a deeper level
is what you expect when you come here.
100%. It's much more fulfilling, and when you walk through our doors, from the minute you walk in the door, you're going to get basically put on a journey, on a roadmap, from start to finish, and it starts with education and mentorship.
Yeah. And every one of our coaches study non-stop to help people.
Yeah,
and
non-stop.
Like where to start people and how to progress them without, getting injured. So every one of our coaches put in the time.
And on top of...
So it's a lot of work. It's not just coaching classes.
No.
I think I can speak for all of us. We do our own research and studying, and granted, we have our coaches in the Active Life program right now, but even outside of that, you're always searching for your client, ways to make them better, or the class searching exercises on more connective tissues, strengthening or muscle building, what conditioning pieces to give them after that, that is the best after you have worked that muscle. So a lot goes into it.
Yeah, 100%. Being on this side of the marker, as I like to call it, is really hard. And it's evolved to a point over time, what started out as being an aerobics instructor or a fitness instructor that people looked at as not a real job, has evolved to the point that it's now a career. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the big things that you and I have been fighting for, is that this is a career. It's a full-time job. This is not a hobby.
This is not just something you go to work and then you coach a class at a gym just to get a free membership. No, our coaches put in the work and are dedicated to solving problems and really helping people do the best for their bodies.
I agree. So Cheri, since you're my guest on the show today, do you know?
It's hot in here.
It is hot in here. Do you know? Do you remember what your Instagram and Facebook handle is? So if people want to find you on social media, they could come and talk to you. Do you need to look it up?
Yeah, I need to look it up. Well, let me see what it is.
Yeah, right?
Well, it's just Cheri, I think it's Cheri Mooney on Facebook, but
I think it's Cheri CM26 on Instagram.
Instagram is Cheri CM26. So Cheri, and then CM, my initial, Cheri Mooney, and then 26 because that was our business name, Element 26 Fitness.
26. That's our LLC, right?
And that's the iron.
And I think
Element 26.
For the longest time, you and I mean, we've always been business partners in this from day one. But people, I don't know, maybe it's my hair, have thought that it's just me. But it is 100% you as well, because you are...
Well, you know more about the technology part of it.
Yeah, I'm the IT department. But nothing in this business happens without you and I having a full discussion about it. So there is no like...
Except for this podcast.
No, except for this podcast.
I'm going to buy these microphones and I'm going to do a podcast every week. I was like, how in the world do you have enough to talk about every week?
And this is why you're a guest and not a co-host.
And then...
This is 100%.
And then you tell stories. You like story time.
You like working
See,
out.
I'll be working out while you do that.
Yeah, that sounds good. All right, guys.
Work on my longevity.
Thank you, Cheri, for being a guest on the Thank you for listening to this episode of the Ferrum Athletic Company podcast. If you like the show, please leave us a review, share it with your family and friends, share it on your social media platforms. Our mission is to build better humans through the education of health and movement. If this resonates with you, please shoot us an email at forged@ferrumathleticco.com. Follow us on social media, Facebook or Instagram at Ferrum Athletic Co. And we will see you all soon. Thank you for helping us to build better humans.